You can never have enough dill for this type of recipe. The more herby, the better. It's with the fish, it's so fresh, it just is delicious. It is chaka, a Vietnamese turmeric and dill fish. Welcome back to Wok Wednesday. I'm Jeremy from School of Wok, London's Asian cookery school, and I can't wait to show you how to cook this. It's so simple and fresh, and it's one of those dishes that you just kind of want to keep going for more, maybe with a bit of rice noodles on the side. We're going to start with a quick paste that I'm going to use for the marinade for the fish. Nice and finely chopped galangal. Now I've got these Thai shallots here, and they're just soaking in hot water, and that helps to peel the shallots a lot easier, so you're not sort of faffing around with the skin of the shallots sticking to the base. So you finally chop your shallots. Finally chop your shallots. This is just building up the marinade that I'm going to pound in the pestle and mortar in a second. So while that finely chopped shallot is going in there, we've got some garlic. I'm going to use a couple of cloves for the actual stir frying stage in the sauce. And I'll take a bit here for the marinade as well. So for the actual stir fry, I don't mind just sort of rough slices. Just set that aside for a second. And then nice and finely chopped or bashed. So we've got my galangal, a little bit of garlic, and my Thai shallots here. This garlic is for my stir fry later on. And then I'm just gonna start to pound this and bring this marinade together. You wanna get to a nice paste, so it's gonna take at least sort of 4 or 5 minutes. So once you've got your base sort of paste of onions and all those lovely fresh ingredients, you're gonna add your turmeric. So a teaspoon of turmeric, and that really give the fish a lovely colour. And then about a tablespoon of fish sauce. We're going to use more fish sauce later on in the actual stir fry too. And I'm going to put roughly half a tablespoon of cornstarch or cornflour into there. And that will just help when I'm searing the fish for the edges of each sort of piece of the fillet of fish to crisp up really quickly. And it will also not thicken the sauce, but allow the sauce to wrap around nicely later on. So my marinade's done. On to setting up the rest of my wok clock, and that's starting at 12 o'clock with my first ingredients so that I can go all the way around and know what my recipe is doing at all times. Now, as I said at the beginning of this recipe, this dish doesn't work without lots and lots of herbs, and that's for me the same applies with base ingredients like spring onion. I like a lot of spring onion sort of cooked into this stir fry at the very beginning to really sort of pack the flavour into the very quick stir fry. Just rough chunks of spring onion will do. And that will all wilt down quite quickly, but there's something about wok fried chunky bits of spring onion in a nice sauce like this, because just having them almost as if they're a vegetable to pick up and mop up with your rice noodles or a bowl of rice works a treat. I've got some coriander for garnish later on as well, but I don't want to waste the stalks either, so I'm just going to throw those in along with the chunks of spring onion. Why not? It's my dish. I can do what I want. And then you've got all this lovely fresh dill here. Which I'm just going to, again, roughly chop up, including the stalks. And I've got my spring onion, some garlic, which you can either go into stir fry like I'm doing now, or you could just throw it into the sauce, which I'm going to make up last. Either way, it'll work. And with a lot of Vietnamese food, there's a heavy influence from different cuisines and cultures. So we know that in French cuisine, you know, you have your dill, sort of creamy sauces over your fish. Well, here is the Vietnamese version of that. This lovely fillet of cod, it's great because you want nice chunky cuts of fish. Any white fish will do well. In Vietnam they'll use a river fish, but we can't get hold of that here, so this works a treat. And it has that lovely flaky texture. Marinade. Don't waste any of that marinade. Scrape that pestle and mortar. And then, because this is full of turmeric, I'm just going to use my spoon for this. You could get a glove on it if you like. Our lovely chunky pieces of fish, nicely marinated, ready to wok fry. So the last thing I have to do is make up a quick stir fry sauce. I've got the remaining fish sauce here. It's about another tablespoon or so. Balanced out with some sugar, and then a good squeeze of half a lime. And that's not a huge amount of liquid for that amount of fish. So I'm just going to thin that out with some water. About 4 or 5 tablespoons of water should do. And that sugar will really caramelize nicely. And you get a nice bit of sauce as well that you can kind of just drizzle over whatever starch or carb you're going to have with this dish. So before we stir fry, I'm actually going to put the marinated fish at 12 o'clock on my stir fry. I might need to remove it from the wok before I then finish the stir fry off, but I'll show you that as we go. The sauce goes last, and then that coriander just for garnish. Now I'm using a cast iron wok here because it's got that thick base, and I want to get a really high heat on this wok and the oil before that initial seal of the fish. And this is really key, I think, for cooking or stir frying any sort of fish. So what you don't want is for the sort of pieces of fillet to break up too much. Obviously, the difficult thing about a cast iron wok is that it's incredibly heavy. So just go careful when you're kind of swirling oils around and things like that. Make sure that oil is really smoking hot before you put any fish in. It gets that initial seal and sizzled straight away. And you probably hear me saying never lose your sizzle when you're wok cooking. That is really very important with this dish. The second little tip, that when you're dealing with sort of stir frying fish like this, it's always best to go underneath and sort of fold it over carefully as opposed to kind of dig into your pieces of fish. But it's also nice to leave it for sort of 30 seconds to a minute before you start moving any of those fillets around. Just so that it gets that real sort of instant caramelization. Look at that colour. And that cornflour, cornstarch, helps to get that immediate sort of crisp edge around the fish. I think we've got enough space to start to sort of build around this stir fry now with my Wok Clock of ingredients. So my spring onion can kind of just go around the edge of the fish. My garlic, I'm just going to place in there, and it will reach the bottom of the wok eventually as I start to move this around. So now that's sort of a very rough and ready mix. Again, I'm sort of building up heat before my dill goes in, and then my sauce. The total cooking time for something like this, if you've got your heat or your wok hay right, is probably about 3 to 4 minutes. All this time, I'm trying my best not to move my fish around too much. That dill is going to go right over the top. You can just see how delicious this dish is. Sauce is going to go in, but I'm building up more and more heat around this so that when the sauce, that liquid, which is quite thin and watery, hits the bottom of the wok, it bubbles up straight away, and the small amount of sugar in there will caramelize lightly around the fish fillets. Smoking hot all the way around. I can smell something about to catch. Sauce goes in. Instant bubbling. As with any fish dish, you don't want to overcook it. You can see how lovely and chunky my fish has remained. I mean, I'm not even sure it needs garnish, but hey, we've got it here so we can get a bit of coriander into there. More for flavour than anything. And if you like, a little bit of peanut. Nice, quick and simple, but with some real wok technique. My Vietnamese turmeric and dill fish. As I said, some rice noodles, or just a bowl of rice on the side of this works a treat. Nice to eat whilst it's fresh out of the wok. Oh, it's so delicious. The flakiness and the freshness of that fish really jumps out. If you like quick, fresh food like this, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ding, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you soon.